Hello and welcome to a new episode of Immigration and its Effect on People. Today's guest is from Venezuela. She's an engineer and she left her country for a new adventure or maybe to pursue a new dream in the United States. Let's see together how immigration impacted her life. Please help me welcome Iris Stammberger. Let me start by saying thank you for accepting my invitation, Iris.
I was delighted when my sister told me that you were doing this and that you had thought of me as a potential interviewee. So thank you.
No, thank you again. So the first question that I ask always my guests, when you hear the word immigration, what comes to mind first?
Something bad, negative.
And was it negative?
That is very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more.
That you become an alien, basically. A person with a different trajectory in life. And even though I cannot complain and I wouldn't go and take a step back, and I'm really very grateful, it's not an easy process. It's not an easy process.
I see.
Because of growing in a different environment with different implicit rules of behavior, and then having to relearn everything, willing to relearn, but it is not easy. It is not easy, even though, as I said, I am really grateful and everything has gone well for me and my family. It's not like, oh yeah, immigration. No.
It sounds like it affected you somehow.
Well, no, it's just that you touched something. I never think of it, but no, it has not affected me. As I said, I'm really grateful. I'm doing incredible work that I could never have done in Venezuela, my country of origin. My son has found a nice, wonderful life with an American girl and a nice job, and my husband has a nice job too. So, and I'm doing the work that I dreamt of doing. I'm an engineer by training, and I became a psychologist. Something that I do is called cognitive psychology or cognitive science, which is the science that tries to understand how is that we solve problems, how is that we learn, how is that we remember, how is that we are able to communicate in sophisticated ways. So I had the privilege of coming here and going to Tufts University with a wonderful, wonderful team of advisors and transform what I was doing in Venezuela into something I could offer here in America. And the first person, honestly, the first person I talked to, who was a woman who was finishing a degree and had a question about a particular issue with a class she was taking, and I was friends with her husband, and I told him, oh, I'll have coffee with her and I'll explain her. And using this methodology that I was using in Venezuela and that I perfected through going to a PhD program here in Tufts University. I live close to Tufts here in the Boston area. And I helped her with her problem using my methodology. And then at the end I said, listen, by any accident, do you know anybody who could help me fund, give me the money so I can start a business and sell this method? And then she said, oh, yeah, why not? I'll bring you to talk to my boss. And she happened to work at Harvard. And the short story is that they signed me for 5 years. And I went to Spain, to Chile, to Honduras, to Mexico, you know, I have trained many people in this method, and because I train facilitators, the facilitators have trained thousands of people, at least 5,000 the last time I checked. So, you know, I'm really grateful, and I have taught at various universities here in the Boston area, but not too much because my work involved travel. And so I have gone to Albania. You know, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, but that doesn't mean that is easy.
I see what you're saying. I see.
I was a little late, not because I was late, you know, I prepare everything. It's just that I'm doing something that I saw precious. I am combining what I know about the science of the mind with mindfulness, which is something that I have done as a hobby for more than 20 years. I currently work at a hospital here in Boston. It's called Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. And a group, is a mind-body group, is doing research on how mindfulness can help decrease chronic pain, or now they are doing the symptoms of long COVID. And I'm not the researcher, I am the meditation teacher, which is precious to me because it's my life. And for the first time in my life, I have been able to combine my practice of meditation with my practice as a cognitive, applied cognitive scientist person who goes into organizations to help teams be better, to improve performance, to be excellent. So I'm blending those two in a program that I called the Wisdom Project. I'm teaching people how to reason wisely around projects that matter to them. So I am blessed, grateful without measure.
I can see that. Yeah, but hearing you saying that with passion and talking about your trajectory, that gives me a lot of excitement to know more about your journey. You took everything you learned in Venezuela and you developed it in the United States and to many countries overseas. That's awesome. And it seems like you are benefiting other people from your new method. So we are blessed to have you in this country. And the next thing I want to ask you, has it been a long time ever since you immigrated from Venezuela?
Long time. I came here in 1996. We're going to 26 years. I remember I left when my niece was 8 days old, my sister's daughter, and I was so sad to leave. But I felt compelled because the work I was doing, I don't know why, I created by accident a program that let me and my husband go and teach this program at different cities in Venezuela. And I could see how people were changing and transforming their lives, but I couldn't, I'm an engineer. So it's because I have been doing a lot of spiritual practice from many different practices my whole life. So I wanted to study psychology, and
so it was by choice. You immigrated by choice. You were compelled, but it was your choice.
Yes, my choice, and I convinced my husband and my son to come with me. And later on, my sister came with her husband.
Because of you. Because of you.
Choice, because I wanted to study psychology. One of my students, I think she was a dean or something, of what I was doing in Venezuela. I had my business as a consultant, and I worked with the oil companies and utilities. But on parallel, this new activity, which was basically unplanned, emerged one day that a friend said, "Oh, I want to visit you, Iris." He lived in another town. And I said, okay. And then I told my husband, why don't we do a meditation on Thursday, because he's coming. And we had 40 people that day in our house meditating. And then I said, why don't we do a longer meditation? And then we had 25 people for a weekend workshop at my house. And then that grew, and then we found ourselves renting a space and while at the same time working,
One thing led to another. So how was the transition? How was it?
Painful.
Explain a little bit more, if you please.
Because I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to know why what intuitively emerged was having an impact on people. And then I tried to go to the psychology department of the Universidad Central de Venezuela, the Central University of Venezuela. And one of my students in that program worked there. She was a psychologist. And I don't remember her position, but at the end I learned that in Venezuela, to go to a program in psychology, you cannot do a PhD or even a master's. You have to have the 5-year training, undergrad training.
Wow, it's been challenging.
Yeah, so anyway, so I said in America, you just go and apply to prove yourself. They don't put barriers. I know there are many complaints about, but this is a miracle of country, I believe. The opportunity people can find, the opportunities no matter your accent or your skin color or your country of origin. It's just marvelous. I think it's unique in human history, okay? Imperfect, yes, but we have to recognize the wonderful things it has. And I recognize that, and that's why I said at the beginning, as soon as I came, I registered into a master's program in psychology. And then after I practiced family therapy, because that's the way, the type of intervention that I like to do. I like to work in systems, not with individuals.
I see.
And after being a family therapist for a very short period of time, I realized I needed a PhD, a doctor, to be a doctor. Now I'm a doctor. And then I found the people at this university, Tufts, that could help me. And,
And here we are.
I was blessed to study with Daniel Dennett. Daniel Dennett is one of the biggest names in the philosophy of mind and the psychology of cognition, etc. So, very lucky. David Feldman, a wonderful developmental psychologist. So blessed. But it is not easy. I remember one day I started crying because I went to a meeting with David Feldman, Professor Feldman, and then I needed to go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. Then I went to the bathroom next to his office. There was a little administration office and then a bathroom. And then when I went to the bathroom, I didn't know how to open the door. I didn't know. It's a stupid, very little incident. But the fact that I was trapped in that bathroom, it hit me that it was not easy when by that very stupid thing, I started crying.
Yeah, it was too much to handle. It was maybe the last straw on the camel back. You've been, striving, and you want to get there, and here we go. I'm stuck in a bathroom all my life. I understand.
No, I knew I wasn't going to be stuck in the bathroom. It's just for me an expression of like stresses keep piling up.
Piled up.
And one day for a stupid little thing,
you burst.
It's a very stupid little thing. So I would say that losing the environment where you grew up, it is challenging for everybody.
You mean the cultural shock? Or you won't name it cultural shock? You name it what? A different society, what?
No, I easily found a neighbor who now I called my brother from another mother. He is from India, and somehow we share the same attitude towards friends and family and community.
Values, you mean values? How we grew up learning values, and here we are encountering new values, and we need to combine both of them. Yeah, you were saying.
So, and then his wife, who is, you know, from many generations, a person from New England, from the Boston area. We just love talking. And one day she said, Iris, do you want to meet more people like me? And I said, yes. And she said, but you have to go to church. And I'm like, no, I don't feel like I went to church too many times when I was growing up. And then she said, come with me one day. And that day that I went with her, I got hooked. They were reading from a Latin American poet that I knew. It was dear to my heart. They were reading from Rumi, you know, the Islamic poet and mystic.
Rumi, yeah.
Rumi. So the church is called Unitarian Universalists. They basically said when they were created 200 years ago that, you know, instead of saying that these people who believe this will be saved, or these people who believe that will be saved, everybody will be saved.
They accept everybody, yeah. They're universal and they're very open.
So it was a balm to our hearts for me and my husband to find this community.
So that made you feel better in the United States. You won't feel anymore like a foreigner, you know?
No, I am always a foreigner. Today, 26 years later, when today you ask me about immigration, how it makes you feel, I went inside my heart and I said painful. I'm not saying that, and I, you know, it's just
how painful, despite your success, despite the new community that you built. Why painful? How painful?
In my travels, I noticed how much I have changed. When I remember I was at a restaurant in Santiago de Chile. I have gone a few times to Chile for work, and I loved going to Chile for work. I love it. And then a guy, we were at a party because they are social as we are in Latin America. They invite you. It's not so compartmentalized like in America that you are friends from work or friends from the church or friends for this. It's very much fluid in Chile like it is in Venezuela. So I really like going there, or to Colombia or Mexico. It's just love it. Oh,
South America, same everywhere. Yeah, I've been there. I understand what you're saying.
So that guy, we were sitting in a little step near the courtyard, and he put his arm over my shoulders, and my reaction was like, and then I looked at my husband who was in front of me, and I realized I have changed so much, because in Venezuela, that's a normal gesture. In Latin America, so
everybody hugs each other.
Everybody hugs each other, and then even when you go to the hair salon, you feel like you belong to the family. It's just a different flavor of community. That's what it is. And if you are like I am, very attuned with, you know, being mindful, because that's part of what I do and teach all the time, just noticing that little change, just noticing.
That makes you feel.
It's just that.
You miss your country.
Not really.
Not politically. You miss what you were brought up like to be affectionist, maybe, but since you became American, you got like, oh, somebody is touching me here. We keep our space, keep your distance. Yeah, I got you.
Honestly, I was surprised.
You're surprised by how much you've changed.
I remember when I was little, my parents had friends, a couple that were Italians, and my family went to Italy because my father he was a lawyer. He was going to write something and he wanted to go to school, blah, blah, blah. And I remember the lady telling my mom how difficult it was for her and her husband, who they were not really Venezuelans, but they were not Italians any longer, because after so many years of living in South America, they had changed. And when they went to Italy, they were different from the people they left behind. So I remember that. I remember that so many years later, because that's my experience.
That's what happened to you.
Yeah.
So you're not from Venezuela and not from America. You're in between. I always say that. I'm in between. I'm from the distance between Lebanon and the United States. And I'm still wandering there. And if you ask me, where is your country, Amal? I would say there. The immigration, the distance between my country and here. So I understand where you come from anyway. So what has taught you the immigration?
Excuse me, can you repeat the question?
What has taught you this movement, migrating and immigrating from Venezuela to the United States? What the immigration has taught you, or maybe your experience of being an immigrant in the United States, what has that taught you?
You mean if I were to say something to recommend to others?
Exactly. If somebody's coming from your country to the United States, what would you tell them? Because you learned a lot of things, and your experience taught you some valuable lessons. What would you share with others about these lessons?
Well, my big lesson is cultivate your network, cultivate people. I was really very active at that church that my friend invited me to. I belong to so many committees, even the worship committee, because in that church you even organize the potential sermons for the minister. So I was really, really very, very engaged. And you know, my social life was built on that community. And then my sister came to America, and I made a mistake of abandoning that system to cultivate a relationship with my sister and her family. And that was a big loss.
Oh.
That was a big, big loss. You know, the minister changed, and my husband didn't like the minister. So I think I would like to have cultivated both the network of my family, whom I love, but also without abandoning that network that I was building. So that's kind of the lesson. Cultivate your networks. Because it takes an effort to cultivate social relationships, and we have limited resources. And if we are doing a PhD and we are in a different country, and so
you must find a community.
So cultivate the community. Every community that you are in, cultivate. That would be my advice. What I would do differently.
I see. So Iris, if you look at yourself, you already mentioned that I was surprised by how much I've changed. So I am respecting and honoring the values and the customs of this country, but at the same time, I'm still Venezuelan. So if I ask you now, what's the difference between you, the former Iris, and the new Iris? In one sentence, what would you say? Because you were accomplished. We cannot say, oh, I'm an accomplished woman now. I know it's the country of opportunity and you continue what you have started already. But what's the difference between the former Iris and the new Iris?
Okay, the new Iris is wiser.
The
new Iris is wiser because She has put a lot of work into learning what is that can transform people psychologically. She's wiser because she has put a lot of work on cultivating herself. And I wouldn't say she's wiser because she's older, because we know in psychology that older people are not necessarily wiser. That's a myth. Wisdom doesn't come with age. Wisdom comes with commitment. And that's what I'm trying to teach people in my new program, the Wisdom Project. How can you cultivate wisdom in your life? So the new Iris is wiser. And if I am allowed to continue working and living and engaging with the world, I would tell you that the new Iris, the Iris of the future, will be wiser than the Iris of today, which is wiser than the Iris of the past. It's a journey of self-transcendence, the way a child becomes a teenager and then becomes an adult. We don't have to settle to be an adult and think we know everything. We have the choice. And
it's a lifelong learning.
Growing, to continue developing.
Yeah, it's beautiful what you're saying, but it hit me when you said that the wisdom is a commitment. Can you elaborate a little bit so we can learn from you? You're the expert.
What we know about the brain is that it's all the time predicting what's going on out there. We think that we are like a bucket where we put knowledge and experience, and that's not it. The brain has fragmented memories and gets some little inputs here and there from the eyes and the nose and the tongue and the ears, and tries to predict what's going on to make us react. So before we think of something, the brain had already realized that the situation is not good and make us react. So, and take action. So your question, can you repeat the question so I don't want to get lost in my answer? Yeah, you're saying that we assume, we predict because we feel like we know everything and then we react. When you mentioned that wisdom, we can cultivate wisdom through commitment, to me, growing up, everybody was saying about someone that I know very well, ever since a young age, people, they used to say, oh, they are like an old soul. They are very wise. It's a DNA thing. He was born wise or she was born wise. Do you believe that? Or it's a commitment, as you said? And how is that a commitment? It's a new conception for me. It's so nice that I interrupted myself to ask you. That's part of being wise. That's part of cultivating wisdom. I do have a lot to offer because I have dedicated my life to understand this, but I have to understand what is your experience, and you just said it. Basically, they told you that it was in the DNA, that either you are or not, either you are an old soul or not.
And I experienced it firsthand. When you see someone of 7 years old acting and knowing and speaking like adult, you feel like, wow, where did they get this wisdom from? And they're like 7 years old, you know? What do you call this? Like intelligence or what?
My son is very intelligent, I would say, and he surprised me when he was 7 years old. But the type of wisdom that he had at 7 is not the type of wisdom he had at 20 or he had at 30. It's a mature, developing wisdom. That's what I was trying to say, like a child, like a teenager, like a man. But you can get stuck in, okay, now I know everything about the world, or you can commit yourself to continue learning. Being wise is the love of learning, the love of transformation of your belief system. Going back to the brain is trying to predict what's going on, and then we can make mistakes on that prediction. And it was Socrates, you know, the Greek sage, who said, know thyself. know yourself.
Socrates, yeah, know yourself. Yeah, you keep
Because-
learning about yourself until you die.
Because
Like there are two in us. One that says to Amal, how did you do that? How could you do that? You know? So, Iris, so if you have to give me a definition about wisdom, wisdom means know how, know what, know when. With the age, I commit to learning about these stuff. Is it that?
no, wisdom is the love of learning about yourself and the world.
Oh,
The love of learning about yourself and the world that allows you to develop different perspectives about any issue, any problem, any project. And
you
then
become open.
have the courage to review your opinions based on what you know about yourself.
The
Because
open mindset, not the fixed mindset you're talking about.
cognitive flexibility.
Wow, we need to invite you to my community. Maybe you can teach
I'll be
us some
happy.
valuable lessons.
That's my life work, Amal. That's my life work. I have been so lucky that I found a way to blend my mindfulness teaching that I have been teaching as a hobby for almost 20 years. And now 4 years ago, I started working at Beth Israel, the hospital, as a mindfulness teacher. But that was like a separate activity. And then my work as a consultant in how to improve problem solving and team development and collaboration. And now I have blended those two areas in my wisdom project. And I'll be very happy to visit your community and share some of the lessons and insights of my journey.
We would love to. Iris, it's been a pleasure to meet with you today and to learn about your journey and about your wisdom and wisdom project. My last question for you would be, was there any question that you wanted to be asked and I didn't? Did you have anything in mind that you wanted to express and you didn't get the chance to?
No, not really, but I just feel the need to say that love heals almost everything. So if you love, you can forgive. If you love, you can go ahead. If you love, you can continue a journey that initially seems difficult. If you have, like myself, a passion for this topic, a passion. I have gotten 3 degrees since I came to America, and I had already 2. It's this love.
So you have to find your passion in order to continue and survive, because immigration without a passion, without a belief in something that you like, it's very difficult. And it's our job to find this passion, and it takes some time.
And of course, you know, I am speaking from the position of somebody who never was undocumented, who always found ways of generating revenue for my family or my husband and my son too.
That's very important, yeah.
So I am very much aware that I'm talking from a position of privilege and extreme good fortune. But from that position, I believe that loving something passionately is a guiding light in the journey.
Correct. Words of wisdom, and thank you so much, Iris Stammberger. And I wish you a great day today.
Same here, Amal. Thank you for this interview.